Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 62nd episode of the Online Tennis Podcast. Today I am joined by Vansh and Isabel. How are you doing, Vansh? Start with you. How are you, Vansh?
Doing well. It's been quite a U.S. Open so far, so happy to get into it. It's been fun.
Yeah, lots going on. Isabel, how are you?
I'm good. It's definitely been one of the craziest Grand Slams of the year, I would say.
Always isn't it, at the US Open? Nobody ever knows what's going to happen. Today we are going to go over all the quarterfinalists that have made it through, talk about their routes to the to the quarterfinals, and we'll talk about who we think is going to go through out of the last eight. There are a few missing, so we'll try and fill in the blanks where we can. All the other ones that are set that we'll be talking about. Let's dive in. Can we start, please, with the first men's quarterfinal of Kyrgios and Khachanov? Probably the biggest talking point, it will not surprise you to hear, is Kyrgios' win over Daniil Medvedev last night. Did either of you get to catch that match?
I did catch quite a fair bit of it.
I personally thought I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it, Vansh, because it was, for me, probably the best match Kyrgios has played maybe this year.
Yeah, for sure. I tweeted it was the best match he had played in a major versus a top player since the 2014 Wimbledon win over Nadal. I really thought it was that good. I would say the level was even better from him than that, especially to put away the disappointment of losing the second set. I did feel like that one break that he got back when he could have easily let the second set go at 6-1, he was able to really carry that momentum forward and played honestly insane in the third and fourth set, especially the third set where I felt, I mean, Medvedev, I checked the stats, Medvedev only hit two unforced errors and one of those was a double fault and he lost a game from 40 love up.
Yeah,
So it just shows that Kyrgios was just absolutely on fire, peaking, returning Medvedev's second serve with his backhand return that caused a lot of damage, and he was just constantly putting relentless pressure on Medvedev from the baseline, serving
yeah.
lights out, hanging in the long rallies. Really, Medvedev couldn't find that extra gear that he would have needed. Kind of similar to the Tsitsipas match in Cincinnati. I felt like that's how the kind of the match went because the first set, he had those set points, three of them, I believe, in the first set tiebreak, which was
Maybe, yeah. It was like four, wasn't there? Oh no, maybe
yeah,
there was only
or
three.
three, I think, and one of those
Yeah,
was on his serve. The others were on Nick's serve, but it was just crazy because there was that one set point that Kyrgios carved off this insane backhand volley that just hit
yeah.
the sideline down the line, and I thought that was gonna go out, but that just kissed the sideline, and from there, once he won that first set, it would have been interesting to see in an alternate universe what would have happened had he lost that set. Would he have reset in the second? Would Medvedev have raised his level? All those things, but
Mm,
it was really crucial, I think, for him to get that first set. What did you
yeah,
think?
yeah. I thought it was really interesting to see Medvedev moving forward and backwards from the baseline. I think from the get go, he was quite keen to hug the baseline to make sure Kyrgios wasn't serving volleying, and actually it worked
Yeah,
pretty well. I thought Medvedev actually made a pretty decent account for himself on return, despite losing
I,
maybe the
I
last
would
two
agree.
sets
He
fairly
echoed
comfortably in the
he
end.
echoed your thoughts in the press conference as well. He said that that's not what lost him the match. I was very happy with that adjustment. I noticed that right away in the first game. He did not want to let Kyrgios serve and volley him off the court like in Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it came down to a point here or there, but the one thing I could say, and because obviously Medvedev gets that first set and he gets the second set, you'd obviously fancy his chances to take it in the end.
Yeah,
But I felt like in the sort of it came down to a few sort of serves and what way Medvedev was serving, because I felt like the second serve direction of Medvedev was pretty questionable. Certainly on that second. Or the set point that he had on his own serve, I think he served
yeah,
out wide, and it was obvious he was serving out wide as well because the toss was obviously, he was going to serve it out wide, and it went straight to Kyrgios's backhand. It's his favourite return. I just feel like
yeah.
he gave it away a little bit, and I really don't know why. That would have been a moment for me that he should have taken a bit more risk, and I think he'll probably
Mhm.
regret that for sure. So yeah, a little bit of a misplay I think for Medvedev to lose that first set, but yeah, overall, I mean the third and fourth set were all Kyrgios. He was so good from the baseline. Like anything that Medvedev's backhand cross court dynamic just wasn't working at all. Kyrgios had all the answers basically. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but all the drama was certainly that first set. Isabel, did you see the first set? What did you feel?
Yeah, I did see the first set. and I thought, and I saw some of the second set as well, but eventually I had to go to bed. And I thought that Kyrgios would kind of run out of steam because I feel like I see him do this a lot, where he plays really well and really competitively in the first set, and then just completely runs out of ideas, just runs out of fitness, and then loses the next three. So I figured that was what would happen, and then I went to bed and woke up that it to Kyrgios in the quarters. So I missed a great match apparently.
It's interesting you say that, actually, that you think you would run out of steam, because it kind of, I don't really think it looked like this, I guess. I'm just taking what Medvedev said in the press conference as well, Vanch, because he was quite telling in that press conference. But he said physically he started to feel a bit worse in the third set, and it was because he apparently
Because of
got
the
ill
air
from
conditioning, right? Because
from the AC
he gets
in
sick. Yeah.
America. He said there's always some point during the American swing where he gets sick, and it just so happened it was the US Open this year. So yeah, he didn't want to use it as an excuse. He did say that, but fair enough. Like, it makes a big difference if you're not feeling your best. And Kyrgios just took all the time away from Medvedev. There was maybe a few defensive points that we would have seen him make a few more balls, certainly off the forehand, in the past, that he wasn't making against Nick. So yeah, there was maybe a little bit of a drop off. But Medvedev himself said that he played like Novak or Rafa. He said that was the kind of level. Obviously, he plays a different game style, but he said that was the level of play that he was bringing to the court. And I'd probably agree. He basically gave nothing away. As you say, Medvedev made very few errors. It was pretty much all Kyrgios from the third and fourth sets. So it was really impressive.
Just one more thing on the Medvedev thing. You brought up a good point about him being predictable on the second serve. Would you have liked to have seen a bit more sliced second serves from him, or maybe just rolling the dice and going bigger on those? Because definitely that's something that haunted him.
Almost definitely, yeah. Like I feel like with Kyrgios, and Medvedev would have known Kyrgios was stepping in to take them on. I feel like that was the time to go big, because he's done it in the past, right? Cincinnati against Djokovic in 2019 or so, and Djokovic is normally the guy he does it against most frequently. But yeah, I think maybe, I don't know if he didn't respect Nick's game enough, or respect his level enough, or something, or I really don't know. I think he thought he could have just outlasted them, basically, and that's why he was willing to do that. But for me, it was a misplay, definitely.
I was even screaming at the TV. I'm like, again to the backhand, Medvedev, again,
I'll move on to Kyrgios's opponent in the quarterfinal, and we'll try and forget about that match, because I feel like Medvedev could have brought a better level, but whatever, it's in the past. He's going to be against Karen Khachanov now. Khachanov definitely gets forgotten about generally at the slams, I feel, and when he does turn up and plays this sort of level, everybody's always a little bit surprised. But he's played this level before. Certainly, to be fair, it's his eighth. That was his eighth fourth round in, I think, 23 slam appearances, and this is only his third quarterfinal. But he does tend to beat people that he should be beating. Against PCB, to be fair, I thought he was the underdog, and for him to bring that sort of level again, especially PCB had absolutely destroyed de Minaur 6-1, 6-1 in the first two sets they played, and to be honest, de Minaur didn't really put much of a foot wrong in those sets. It just looked like PCB was playing absolutely brilliant. Sorry, Pablo Carreno Busta. I always forget that. People might not know who PCB is when I say that. I saw you said on Twitter, Vansh, Khachanov really likes PCB's ball and feels like he can dictate play with it. Do you feel like it's a bad matchup, just given or what do you feel like makes it a bad matchup?
Yeah, I just feel like Khachanov, I looked at their head-to-head, it was 5-3, and he's won the last three meetings. And one of those was obviously the Tokyo match in the Olympics, in the semis. That was a big one, because Khachanov also has a silver medal. But that what I noticed is that every time he plays PCB, I feel like he's able to hang in the long rallies with PCB, and PCB can be one of those players that just puts up a wall from the baseline. He's just so rock steady, solid off of both wings, especially the backhand cross court. I feel like Khachanov moves well enough that he can stay in that pattern, and he can bring extra firepower from the back, and he can get the free points on the serve, which sometimes sometimes the serve lands a little bit central. Maybe the second serve he's lacking a little bit of confidence, and that's when Khachanov can usually step in, and that's when he's dangerous, because you combine that with him being 6'4", having those long levers, hanging in those long baseline rallies, and you can bring the extra firepower when you have time because PCB at least gives you some time. He's not going to rush you the way certain more offensive players with that same style would, I guess. So I
Yeah,
just feel like that paid dividends for him in the big moments, and then he went up 2-1, and he still had belief after PCB came back and won the fourth. So really good win.
yeah, great one. Seriously great one. He is obviously going to be against Kyrgios as the underdog. Isabel, do you give him any chance at all against Nick?
Not really after the way that Nick has been playing. I think it might be a good match. I don't know. I don't really think it'll go you know 3 sets for Nick. He might need a little while to warm up, but I think he'll come through in the end.
I don't really see there being much that Khachanov could hurt him with. I also feel like on serve, Kyrgios will probably be able to exploit Khachanov's forehand for sure. That's going to be a recurring theme. I just also feel like he's got the most important thing is he's got the bit between his teeth. He's in another quarterfinal against somebody that he should be beating. I just don't see him missing the opportunity, I think. Or do you think, Vanch, the fact that he's playing somebody that he should be beating will give him less of a chance?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he still respects Hachanov's game. They played a really tight 5-set match in 2020 at the
Oh
Australian Open just
yeah,
before the
that was a good
pandemic, and it
match.
was it was a
Yeah,
super tiebreak. So it went all the way down to the wire. I think 10-8 in the super tiebreak, and the last 4 sets were tiebreaks. So with the
yeah.
way these guys serves, and with the Kyrgios's return has definitely improved the last 1 year, but it's still maybe the weaker part of his game. So you definitely he could find himself in some tiebreaks, and of course Khachanov definitely has a chance there. And
Mm.
with the way he's playing as an underdog, and also coming off the high of beating Medvedev, the world number one, doing it twice in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and finally feeling like he's expected now to really go get to the final. So I
Mm.
think, but I think Nick is just way too focused right now, and he doesn't want to let this opportunity go. And I feel like in the bigger moments, I agree with you. I think he'll exploit Hachanov's long forehand backswing, and he'll be able to get into the net. And I think tactically, he's been quite smart recently about what he has to do when he has the fitness. So I
Yeah.
definitely don't think we're going to
Mm.
see a letdown from the Medvedev win. I'd still pick him to win. He's the favorite.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so probably Nick through to the semi final. His opponent would be Berrettini or Ruud. Berrettini obviously beating Andy earlier in the tournament. We won't dwell too much on that because I've got a whole 4 hour stream of me lamenting about it, so won't get too deep into that one. Casper did manage to beat Muti. I can't remember who he beat before Muti. Anybody know off the top of their head? It was quite a big. It was
Was
Oh,
it
it
the
was
American?
yeah, it was
yeah,
Tommy Paul.
it was Tommy Paul, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. And of course, Berrettini also went 5 sets with Davidovich Fokina. So they both had pretty tough routes there for sure. It's quite tough to pick for me, to be honest, because
Yeah,
their match in Gustad comes to mind, where Berrettini was able to keep his serve airtight on clay. And obviously, I suppose, to be fair, from high altitude, that does make a big difference on how well Berrettini can serve. In fact, given that, I would probably give Casper more opportunities to get into service games than he was able to get into in Gustad, despite the surface difference. Now I'm saying that out loud. So I probably would make Casper the slight favourite. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
I do,
mm,
yeah. I think Berrettini has been kind of winning his matches on luck rather than skill. The in
Mm-hmm.
this in his part of the draw, he's been a little inconsistent, kind of tight. I think he got lucky
Mm-hmm.
in that Andy match.
Yeah, on it, he
And
did. He wasn't brilliant in some of the bigger moments, but
yeah,
and they
and
just couldn't
but
capitalise.
yeah, and Casper has been playing remarkably well. Like even though he went 5 sets with Tommy Paul,
Mm-hmm.
the some of the things I've seen from him were just incredible, and I really have more faith in him than I did at the start of the tournament. I kind of thought, Casper, he got lucky at the French. He's not going to go far, but I think he could be a real challenger. I would definitely give him the edge over Berrettini.
Could be a world number one, obviously, by the end of the tournament. Who knows?
I don't know if he could beat I don't know if he could beat Nick. That's a different
No.
topic.
No, I feel the same way. The one thing I would say about Ruud, if they were both trading strokes from the back of the court, Berrettini couldn't really escape using his slice. I, that's a big problem for Berrettini, because if they're trading double-handers, I'd fancy Ruud to come out on top. But if Berrettini does slice, I think Ruud's probably like the best in the business, other than Rafa, at dealing with a slice, and it can make for quite a sort of punishing sort of dynamic between the two. If it does go to enough rallies, which wasn't the case in Gstaad, of course, and Ruud was still able to just squeeze through there. Do you feel, Vansh, that Ruud should be winning this, or do you think Berrettini's got more of a chance than I'm giving him?
I think Berrettini should go in as a slight favorite for me, just purely because of the free points he can get on the serve. I think that's going to be a massive factor on a faster hard court. I think on clay and Stad, that's a good point about the slice, because I think in altitude, especially, that slice works really well. But Ruud was able to take Ruud. It doesn't bother Ruud because he has so much racket head speed on that forehand, and he can get down low and just crush balls. And I think this is going to be interesting. It's like whoever serves really well and whoever can protect their backhand, because the other person is going to be looking to hit inside out forehands and go into their backhand and try to attack that wing and come forward. And I just feel like maybe Casper will have just a little bit. I, for some reason, the way Casper ended that match with Mute, he sort of had to play another extra set, right? Like I thought he would close it out in 3, but he lost that third set. He expended a little bit of more energy than I had thought he would. And it went past the 3.5 mark. And then against Tommy Paul, I would say he was a little fortunate that Tommy Paul didn't win that third set up 6-5, 40 love. Otherwise, he would have been up. Paul would have been up 2-1, and maybe the match looks different from there. But regardless, he's still through, and so is Berrettini. Like Isabel mentioned, he's had some shaky moments. I remember the second round. He barely scraped by Grenier, the qualifier, and then he...
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then, of course, then he had to play an extra set against Andy, and he had 8 break points to finish that in 3 sets, but didn't get it done. And had to come back from a breakdown in the 4th. But yeah, it's kind of a really tough one to call. Like Ruud does lead their head-to-head 3-2, but the last time they did play on hard court, which was a fast hard court similar to this, was in 2020 at the U.S. Open. I know Ruud has improved a lot since, and he's a much more formidable player on hard courts. But I just still think that X factor with the serve, and with Ruud potentially having the chance to be number 1, I think he might be aware of that in the back of his mind. So I think that might put some additional pressure on him, maybe. And Berrettini does tend to be pretty clutch in tie breaks and service games in general, I think. And he's been to a U.S. Open semi before, and he usually doesn't lose to players not named Djokovic or Nadal. So
no, that's true.
I think I give him a slight favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if Casper won. I think it's very even.
Yeah, I kind of rate Ruud's backhand a little bit now though as well. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but actually it's been a lot better over the last few months. So one match that comes to mind in particular, Ruud played Roberto Bautista Agut in Cincinnati.
Those down the line backhands.
Yeah, it's like he played a tiebreak and hit like 4 backhand winners against like one of the best backhands on the tour. It's, it's decent nowadays, and if they were, as I say, if they were trading double handers, I think Ruud would have the advantage. So it's a tough one to call. You're right, Vanch, and it won't come down to that much, definitely, but it will come down to very little. But yeah, I'm going to give Ruud the slight edge, I think. Moving on to the next one, this is probably the topic to discuss for sure. Tiafoe v Rublev, because Tiafoe was able to beat Rafa Nadal in the 4th round, as has just happened like literally an hour ago or so. Tiafoe was great from start to finish from what I saw. To be fair, I only caught the last 2 sets, so maybe you guys are more equipped than me to talk about the whole match. What did you guys think?
It was so good. Really, just quality rallies.
From both sides, I guess. Surely, or was it an off day for Nadal?
Well, sometimes it was from both sides, but yeah, Nadal was definitely making a lot of unforced errors. He wasn't. He was moving, still really well, and still, being Nadal in general and making incredible shots. But yeah, he was a bit tight in some spots.
Yeah, there was certainly, from what I saw, a lot of double faults, going for some pretty crazy second serve speeds. Vansh, did Vansh said something about? Did you say it was to protect his ab? You thought?
No, not particularly in this match. I do think his serving has been a little up and down, definitely in Cincinnati and also in in the sets that he's dropped in this tournament. But I just felt like that's credit to Tiafoe that Nadal had to go a little bit bigger on those serves and double fault more, because Francis was taking the ball extremely early, especially on his backhand, and redirecting shots like super deep to Nadal's feet, and then getting the short replies in that play of the cross court backhand, stretching Nadal out wide to the forehand, and then going down the line and then coming in behind it. I thought that was really effective. He did that on both break points that he had in the first set and in the third set. So that was really impressive that he only needed one break chance, and that's all it really came down to in the first and the third sets that he won, and he kept his first serve percentage was actually quite low in the first set. It was less than 50%, but he was winning like 80% of points behind it. So that was I thought he was very clutch when he needed to be in this match. 18 aces overall. That's a spectacular number.
Yeah, it looked like I saw him hitting like 130 plus down the tee, which is huge, obviously, and that's enough against any player to cover your serve, basically.
Yeah.
If you're
And then, of
serving
course,
those numbers.
It came up clutch for him again, that ace that he hit at 4-3 deuce in the fourth set, because he had those 3 game points, and then Nadal comes all the way back to deuce. And at that point, he said after the match that his feet were like.
I thought he was done at that point, to be honest.
Yeah. So that he found that ace there, I think that was a little bit. He really needed that, because if he doesn't break there, I mean, if he doesn't hold there for 5-3, then it's trouble. So.
Yeah, for sure. Isabel, I know you're a pretty big Tiafoe fan. Just interested to hear if this is a result that you were keen on, or if you wanted Nadal to come through at all. How did you feel at the end of the match?
I've been wanting Tiafoe to win big, for many years, and I is this his first quarterfinal?
Second, I think it's his second.
Yeah, I think it's his second.
Yeah, but it's been 3.5 years. His last one was 2019 at the Australian Open.
And he lost to Rafa, of course, then.
Yeah.
Yes, he did, Yeah, so I was definitely rooting for him. I was definitely not rooting against Nadal, but in the last, 2 Grand Slams, this one and Wimbledon, I just don't think Nadal is at his like peak physical fitness. I think he's really fighting some injuries. I think his team seems really concerned about him. Like, he's still pulling off, incredible tennis, but there's just something that's not right, and I'm worried about him. And if he was playing somebody like Nick, obviously I would be rooting more for Nadal. But when it comes down to it, like, it's the U.S. Open, and Tiafoe is undeniably likable, and he's really fun to watch. So I just want to see him have an excellent run.
Yeah, it makes sense, and I would definitely just add to what you were saying there about him deserving a big win. We talked about it a little bit on the previous podcast, Vansh, that you were on, but I'll just say it again. Tiafoe had been knocking on the door for a while, certainly the last few months. I think what you said, like 7 of his 8 losses, he was winning a set basically, but just couldn't make it over the line. Basically, his level had been really high the whole time. And also just in the past as well, he's come close to kind of making the breakthrough at slams. Like, I'm pretty sure last year he had a really good opportunity against Felix. I'm pretty sure had a set point to go 2-1 up, for example, and kind of just missed out there. And I mean, there was nothing really that made him deserve to not win that set. I'm pretty sure he just netted a forehand return, and it could have easily went over the net, and it would have been a totally different story. But the point is, he seriously has deserved a big result like this for a long time, and I think that's why he was so emotional after the match. He obviously feels like he's put a ton of work in, and just finally gets to see it to pay off, and it's great. It's great to see. I think he played what he said, basically one of the matches of his life against everybody, with everybody he loves in the stadium and stuff. So love it. Really, really good.
He lost a lot of close matches lately, and especially the one that comes to mind was the match in DC, where he had those 5 match points against Kyrgios, and he didn't come through it. And there's been so many other where it's just, I knew eventually he was going to get one really big result, and it's been a long time coming. I predicted him to get to the semis of Wimbledon, and he lost in the 4th round to Gauff, and he was that was another loss that he was really in good position to win, I think. So this is big, like in front of his home crowd, and doing against Rafa, winning the last 5 games of the match. like keeping his head down, staying super focused, at the same time getting the crowd involved. It was great. He's a really likable guy, so
Oh,
you
he's
want to see
amazing.
him do well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, on the other side of the net, somebody else who's pretty likable in Andrey Rublev. He's had a pretty spotty route to the quarterfinal. However, I mean, his last match against Cam was pretty good. I think he turned up for maybe the first time in the tournament. I don't think that's too harsh to say. His first 3 rounds were pretty difficult. I think maybe he had an easy second round actually, but yeah, against Shapo certainly a fifth set tiebreak, I should say. That I mean could have went either way for sure. That match was great actually. I thought Shapo played very patient stuff. He was trading backhands to Rublev's forehand, which I wouldn't have expected to see against Shapo. You know, a winner or an unforced error. You know, after like 2 or 3 shots, but he was pretty patient. All things considered, not much in the tiebreak to be honest, and I think Shapo just got kind of unlucky to it didn't go his way. Did you guys get to see that match at all?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it was spectacular. Like the fifth set tiebreak, and then the Shapovalov breaking the back at 5-4,
Yeah,
saving those
40,
match
15
points.
up, of course. Yeah,
40-15 up, and you thought, oh, Rublev's just absolutely going to lose it, but he kept his head down and he played a pretty solid fifth set tiebreak. Like he didn't really give much away. Shapo a little bit unlucky on a couple of occasions. It kind of felt like the match was like he was gonna be the one kind of deciding the outcome in the end still, because he sort of was the one either hitting spectacular winners or self-destructing, but after a long rally where they were staying patient. And it was, I think there was some
yeah,
positive signs in there for Shapovalov, and he can maybe have a better, and for Rublev as well, like to get back to another quarterfinal, second of the year, like
yeah.
sixth overall. This is his best slam of is the U.S. Open, so he
It's a
definitely
huge
needed that.
chance. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Chappell hit like 76 winners to 72 unforced errors.
Yeah,
You're quite right, Vanch. Yeah, it's going to be a rematch of last year, Tiafoe v Rublev. Of course, Tiafoe was able to come through in 5 sets. What do you think? Do you think the same result, Isabel, or do you think?
I really have no idea. They both played really well. Rublev obviously had the easier match today. It seemed I didn't see any of it, but looking at the score, it seemed to just cruising for him.
Yeah,
um, so I really don't know. It could go either way. It could be straight sets for one of them. It could be an absolute battle in 5. It's impossible. This tournament has been so weird. I can't make any predictions.
tell me about it.
yeah, that's fair. I don't really, to be honest, I've got no idea because I think Tiafoe was great. I don't see why he doesn't turn up again and play great. And honestly, if he played that level, I'd probably give him the edge in this match. So
Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't really want to say it with too much confidence. Vance, how do you feel?
yeah, I don't feel super confident either, but I feel like Rublev's second serve is again going to be a kind of under fire in this match. Especially, I
Mm-hmm.
remember that fifth set that Tiafoe won last year. It was 6-1, and he was really taking his backhand return early and rushing Rublev and coming forward and using his touch and his craft, and he was really getting the better of Rublev on the return. And if he was able to do this
Yeah,
tonight to Nadal and make him hit 100 plus mile an hour second serves, just
yeah,
so he can have the edge, it was really he's going to be under a lot of pressure. And I think yeah,
yeah.
he's lost his last 5 major quarterfinals, so this would be his best chance to get to a semi and through Rublev.
Undoubtedly,
So I think
undoubtedly.
he had Chilich in the quarterfinals of the French, and that was a really good match too. That was the fifth
Yeah,
set tiebreak won by Chilich. So I definitely think it's going to be a night match, and Tiafoe loves the energy from the crowd. He's going to
mm-hmm.
really feast on that, and it's going to the pressure really might start to mount on Rublev, and I think Tiafoe is going to embrace it because he's been in so many of those night matches on Ash, and it just you
Yeah,
feel like he's he's primed to continue this. I don't think the match today was super physical. It was less than 3.5 hours. I
yeah,
think he's focused enough right now, and he wants to keep the run going. And I don't see a reason why he can't play similar level to how he did today. At least, I mean, if he plays like I'd say 85 to 90% of what he did today, that should be a really handful for Rublev. So
Mm-hmm. I'd like just a comment on that second serve as well. I think the reason that the dynamic doesn't work the other way around, Tiafoe's got a seriously heavy second serve. Like, it's not very easy to attack at all, and I don't think Rublev will be able to step in the same way that Tiafoe will be able to on his serve. So I think it's important for Rublev to serve well. It's not as important for Tiafoe to serve well. So it's quite tough to call, definitely. This quarterfinal is Sinner and Alcaraz. We saw Alcaraz playing Brooksby, for example, in the third round. To be fair, this matchup's pretty cruel for Brooksby, just given the firepower that Alcaraz can bring to the court. There wasn't really many places that Brooksby could hide in that match. I really enjoyed watching it, though. I thought it was one of the best matches I've seen from Alcaraz in a while on a hard court. Just the forehand is scary. Like, that's the thing. Brooksby wasn't able to work any of the points because even if he got an aggressive shot to Alcaraz's forehand, Alcaraz on the run, just he was annihilating every single forehand he got a chance to hit. It's actually terrifying stuff. And yeah, finished with a flourish, managed to win 6 games in a row to close the match out. I think Alcaraz is looking incredible, actually. I just feel like we haven't seen him on a hard court for quite a while, so people are a little bit taken aback by him, I guess. Certainly a court as fast as this and conditions as fast as this, I feel like he's a serious threat, and it's going to be difficult for Sinner to have the same results I feel that he's had on natural surfaces, on clay, of course, in Hamburg, and it wasn't Hamburg, was it? It was
Umag, yeah.
That was at Umag, yeah, and Wimbledon, of course, as well. Mm-hmm. I feel like Alcaraz actually has the advantage. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the one match that they played was on a hard court in Paris Masters last year.
Yeah,
was a very close two-setter, but I definitely don't think I'd be very surprised if Alcaraz doesn't break Sinner serve like even once. That would be really shocking for me to go through 3 matches on all 3 surfaces and not have a look. I just think Alcaraz is playing way too well for that. For that right now, and I just think he's hitting through this court beautifully. And even the serving against Brooksby, he was going 130 plus down the tee on the deuce side, which I haven't seen from him, to be honest. Maybe it's just been a while. Maybe because the last time I saw him playing this well on a hard court was in Miami. Maybe I've just forgotten that he can actually do that. But
I was going to say he definitely adds a lot more spin to his serves when he's on clay in particular. And I don't know what he was trying at Wimbledon. Maybe he was trying something a little bit different. But certainly on a hard court he will fan it out a lot more because you get a lot more bang for your buck if you flatten it out on a hard court. So it makes sense to do. Yeah. I certainly feel as well that the height that the ball sits at on this surface will probably be more of an advantage for Alcaraz. Certainly he will probably be able to flatten out on his backhand easier than Sinner, who likes to spin it. Obviously still has loads of pace on it, but it's probably going to be more of an advantage for Alcaraz, and the forehand as well. He can hit it just a little bit bigger than Sinner on his day. So I feel like these will be the 2 advantages, because I think there'll be enough rallies for it to be enough of an advantage for Alcaraz, for sure. Are you
Sinner's got to be careful he doesn't play too much from neutral, because Alcaraz is just brutal right now. Anything mid-court.
Yeah, that's not even neutral. That was my feeling against Brooksby. Like, anything that he had him on the run for, he would kill. Like, on the forehand, it's crazy stuff. Yeah, it should be a great match. I don't know if you feel that way as well, Isabel, but
I think it'll be fantastic.
Who do you think's going to win?
I think I agree. I would probably give the edge to Carlos. Nothing. I have nothing bad to say about Sinner, but just given how Carlos has been playing and just how aggressive his game is, I just don't think Sinner will be able to match that in power. So it'll still be a great match, I think.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I'm struggling to call the scoreline, to be honest, but yeah, I think it'll be Alcaraz. So we're thinking, were we in agreement there? Well, you thought maybe Berrettini, but yeah, just running down the quarterfinals there, we're thinking Kyrgios v. Well, I think Ruud. I think Isabel thought Ruud, maybe Berrettini from Vansh, and then on the other side, we're thinking Tiafoe. I think.
Yeah, I'm picking Tiafoe over
I would
Rublev.
hope
Yeah.
so.
Tiafoe v probably Alcaraz.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm picking Alcaraz as well. I think it'll be 4 sets for Carlos.
Okay, cool. Okay, happy to move on to the women's draw?
Sure.
Yeah. First quarterfinal I'd like to talk about is Ons Jabeur v Alja Tomjlanovic. Both players having made pretty big comebacks to get to this stage. I'll just run down a little bit of that before we talk about them in a bit more depth. Jabeur, certainly, I mean, she's been making the most comebacks of maybe any of the players in the draw, I would argue. She had to come back from 5-2 down, I think, against Kudermetova in their first set. Against Rogers as well, had to come back from a set down. Against, I've lost it. Who did she play in the second match? Does anybody know? Mandlik, yeah. I'm pretty sure Mandlik served for the first set, right?
Did, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's been pretty dicey stuff from Jabeur, but to her credit, I mean, I was saying this at the start of the tournament. She's maybe not the most natural hard courter in the world, but the biggest advantage she has over most players at the moment is how much she can dig in, basically. And I think she proved that over her last 3 matches, certainly against players that maybe should have served. They're pretty decent servers, obviously. Kudermetova, Rogers maybe should have found a way to serve it out, but the way she can dig in and make returns in the biggest moments for me is probably her biggest asset, and just make them play an extra ball a lot of the time. Obviously, she's got a lot of firepower herself, but that for me, that's been the most the most helpful asset of hers this fortnight. And I feel like against Tomjanovic, we could see a similar story. Certainly, Tomjanovic, I would say, hits a bigger ball overall. But if it gets tight, I could see Jabeur taking it under pressure, basically. So I would give the edge to Jabeur. But to be fair, Tomjanovic did play, I mean, 2 excellent matches, one against Serena and one against my pick for to get far, at least in the tournament. I think I said final against Ludmila Samsonova. And I mean, she saved 8 set points in that match, so she's had her own fair share of clutchness this fortnight as well.
Yeah, it was, to me, she's been the biggest revelation in this whole tournament for me. Alja Tomjlanovic, because to be, like you said, Samsonova 2-5 deuce down and save those 8 set points, plus play like a 20-minute long game to hold for 5-all.
Yeah,
That
there
was
were 7 set
crazy.
points in that game alone, yeah.
I mean, everyone was, or at least I don't know about everyone, but definitely I was expecting that after the emotionally draining and physically taxing and just playing that spoiler role against Serena, in that match, longest match Serena Williams ever played at the U.S. Open. So that was
Really?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
that was spectacular. I didn't think that she'd be able to recover from that high and beat Samsonova, who's on like an insane match winning streak, like 12 or 13 matches. So
Yeah.
that was
I mean, she said she came out
amazing.
flat, so
Yeah, and she was able to weather that storm and then pretty much cruise through the second without any problem. And Samsonova sort of went away.
yeah, she
It
ran
was
out of
surprising
gas a
maybe
bit.
that just experience kind of showed in that situation. Tomjanovic has now made back-to-back quarterfinals, so she's been playing really
Yeah.
well.
The absolute shock of that match, to be honest, the point that just made me go, what on earth has just happened, was a ball at, I think, 6-all that Samsonova kind of watched hit the baseline, didn't swing for, just because she thought it went
Yeah,
out, and she lost
just
the
let it
point.
go.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it was.
what was going on? It never happens in
I
professional
know.
tennis. It was wild. I just didn't get what she was doing. But why wouldn't you play it? Anyway, yeah, I mean, Tomjanovic able to break Samsonova's streak of 13 matches and 18 sets won. I think it's not too surprising that after she lost a set like that, she just kind of went away. I'm not mega surprised at that at all. But yeah, great match. Seriously good. So yeah, it's tough to call. I don't know how you feel, Isabel. I don't know if you can pick a winner at this one. Do you think it goes down to the wire, or do you think Jabeur's got the edge like me?
Well, I haven't seen any of either of their matches.
Okay, so it's tough to call.
It's tough to call. Just hearing, the aftermath of everyone's matches, I would probably give the edge to Tomjanovic.
Okay.
Just based on who she's been able to take out, and how dominant she's been, especially on the surface that maybe Jabeur isn't as comfortable on.
Yeah.
I would give her the edge. I think it'd be cool to see. But happy if Jabeur gets it as well. I think it'll be an incredible match.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm giving the edge to Jabeur. Then you're giving the edge to Tomjlanovic. Vansh, can you split out, give us the tiebreaker, I guess?
It's kind of a difficult one to call because every time I picked against, it's funny. I actually was playing in a game for Open Era, and we had like a fantasy draft, and she was my unseeded dark horse, like wild card pick.
Mm.
So like I clearly rated her, but I just didn't expect her to back up the Serena match, and so and I'm curious to see how she's going to handle Jabor's variety and going to be able to like will she be able to overpower Jabeur because she does hit kind of a bigger ball, but
Yeah.
I don't know if she has to be feeling it at some point. I think Jabeur should win this one, but like it's pretty tough. I could see Jabeur winning it in 3 sets, maybe. I'm gonna go with Jabeur. I think it's gonna be a really good match though, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of that. The opponent either of those players would be facing in the semi-finals will be decided between Coco Gauff and Caroline Garcia. Now, after they both played their fourth rounds, I was pretty adamant in my assessment that both these players were probably playing. I mean, I hadn't seen Iga play, but actually, no, I still stand by it. I think Gauff and Garcia are probably playing the best tennis out of anybody else in the draw. I feel like they've been leagues above pretty much all of their competition. Certainly, Garcia against Andreescu in a match that I thought could have been 3 sets. Oh my god! I mean, she made Andreescu look like she was just like a sort of counter puncher from the back of the court. Like she could barely play an aggressive ball. Like the way she was crushing the ball from start to finish there was insane. Probably one of the performances of the tournament. And then I mean, Garcia's kind of been backing it up the whole time. She's barely lost. I don't think she's lost a set with a deficit of more than 4 games so far. I'm pretty sure, so it's all been straight sets. Yep. Gauff as well, though. It's all been straight sets for her. It's been a different story, of course. So she's had a few more tricky matches. Certainly that last one against Zhang, I believe. Was it Zhang Shui?
Yeah, Zhang Shui.
Yeah, it was. That was a pretty sticky match, but she was kind of able to come through that again. Mm-hmm. Gauff, I've got like Jabeur. I got to give her like so many points for just how much grit she's got at the moment and the way she can fight from pretty sticky situations. For me, just before I ask you guys' opinion on this matchup wise, I actually think Coco Gauff's got a pretty decent advantage because I feel like Garcia is able to. She benefits from being able to rush opponents certainly off our first ball, and also obviously likes to step in on the return. If Gauff can sort of neutralise the return, obviously with some great serving, that's advantage Gauff. And I also feel like the first ball that Garcia will often get a short reply off of other opponents with won't work as well against Gauff, of course, because her defensive capabilities are outstanding, and certainly on the backhand that's the case. Yeah, the only worry I would have is if Garcia kind of barrages Gauff's forehand a wee bit, then there could be problems because Garcia's forehand cross court is great. It's incredibly good, so that could be a problem possibly. But I also feel like Gauff's forehand's like stood up really well this tournament and maybe looks better than it has in previous tournaments actually. So it's kind of tough to say what level Gauff brings to the match, but yeah, for me on paper, Gauff maybe goes in as the favourite, which I'm surprised I'm saying, but it's just the way she's been playing. Even though Garcia's looked incredible, yeah, I'd probably give the edge to Gauff. How do you guys feel?
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one.
I was going to say, it's not just because Andreescu got knocked out as Isabel.
No, I mean, I did want Andreescu to win, but no, I've been really impressed with Coco this whole tournament. I think she's been serving really well. She's had like some of the fastest on the women's side. She's just been. She's had a couple of times where she's been broken. Obviously, early in the first set with
Zhang Shui.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. She got broken pretty early, but didn't really seem to phase her.
She kept the head.
Yeah, and I think that's been really helpful for her. And yeah, like you were saying, you can't really rush Coco. She's so good at just kind of staying in the point. Um, that I think that'll definitely be her advantage. It might be a really tight match. It could probably go 3 sets. I wouldn't be surprised. But I would definitely give the edge to Coco. I would absolutely love to see her in the semi and in the final of this tournament.
Yeah, of course. Again, though, like Rublev, for me, it's more important for me that Gauff serves well than Garcia, in my opinion. Vanch, how do you feel about the match?
Yeah, both of them have impressed me a lot this tournament. Gauff, particularly in her win over, well, actually, both her win against Jung was impressive because she went down an early break in the first, and then she saved a set point in the second, and she was down 5-3, and she just used her speed and her ability to get so many balls back. Her forehand was actually holding up really nicely. I think she's got a little bit less wrist action now, and she's hitting it a little bit more flatter through the court a bit more, and it just looks like she's not being sort of rushed as much. Like she's playing it with good margin, but it's also not easily attackable. So I feel like that bodes well for her. And then Garcia, on the other hand, what she did to Andreescu. I mean, Andreescu has changed her service motion, so she doesn't have like a pinpoint stance like she used to,
Yeah,
and it's kind
yeah.
of a platform stance, and it's kind of not wasn't very good in that match against Garcia, because I mean part of it was Garcia just like literally standing like a few feet behind the service box inside the court, like in no man's land, and just rushing Andreescu so much, and then coming forward, attacking with her nets. Just like her commitment to this high aggressive, you would think low margin game style is like
I know, yeah.
working so well. I can't believe she strung it together for so many tournaments in a row now. Like it's pretty wild to me. And she had to deal with some nerves at the end of her match against Risk, but it was just like that at that point you just knew it was over. So yeah, against Gauff, I think just based on form and just like just the fact that Gauff, I still haven't seen an opponent who can like really rush that side. I mean, Madison Keys, it worked really well against Keys, but Keys has been can be sort of hit or miss in rallies, and you kind of she doesn't have the best shot tolerance, but I feel like Garcia is a lot steadier right now, and she's getting a lot more. She's winning a lot more baseline rallies, and she's protecting her serve better. Sometimes the serve can go a bit awry, but it's held up pretty well this tournament. So it's kind of it's like the Rublev Tiafoe match, kind of tough to call, but like maybe I'll give a slight edge to Garcia, just because. Yeah, I do like Coco in this match just because of the athleticism. I feel like she'll just track down so many different shots. She'll make it incredibly hard for Garcia to hit winners.
Yeah, exactly.
And so maybe that could squeeze errors off of Caroline, but I just
exactly.
It could also work the other way, and Coco still has some problems sometimes with double faults, and so I just
So I'm like, Gauff's got to serve well.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a slight edge to Garcia.
Okay, interesting. I just feel like Garcia could look like a different player against somebody like Gauff. Like obviously she's been class, but I'd like put her against somebody with the movement of Gauff.
Her last loss was against Cornet, who sort of she has. So I guess that there you go. I feel like that's optimism right there for Gauff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just gonna just gonna be a little different from you. I'm just gonna go with Garcia.
No,
and also just the form coming in with Cincinnati and these matches right here. So I just Oh, actually, one more thing on that match. I feel like here's what I was gonna say is I think if it goes 3, I like Gauff. I think the crowd can just get her through.
Okay. Yeah.
And I feel like if Garcia wins, it'll be in straight sets.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that prediction, Vansh. That's fair. I'd probably agree with that, I think.
Yeah, I would too.
And the other side of the draw, the first quarterfinal to talk about is Swiatek versus Pegula. Iga, of course, troubled in her last match. I think she'd sailed through in straight sets in the prior 3, but against Jill Niemeyer, she did have to go 3 sets from a set down. And Jess Pegula, I believe she's had one match that's been 3 sets, but the last match, certainly against Kvitova, 3-2, was fairly comfortable. Just out of interest first, did either of you get to see Pegula Kvitova?
No. I actually missed that one today. I didn't get back in time.
I didn't either. I'm not really sure what happened then for like
Yeah.
my guess would be that Pegula was just too solid for Kvitov, and possibly the heat played a factor. I don't know, just given Kvitova's track record, I should say, at the US Open. By the way, yeah, I mean it's not much of a surprise we're seeing Pegula in the quarterfinal. For me, Swiatek, Niemeyer, the fact that that went 3 sets isn't a huge surprise. I feel like somebody that can hit the ball as big and flat as Niemeyer would have the potential to trouble Swiatek on a fast hard court. Certainly, obviously, when we saw Madison Keys do it in Cincinnati, I didn't think maybe that she had the rally temperament to get the win, to be fair. And yeah, maybe even getting a set was a little bit of a surprise, but I think Swiatek adjusted really well, and she talked about it at the start of the year. Her ability to bounce back after dropping a set, it has been incredible, and it's been something that they've worked on from the start of the year. It's the improvements she's made to that aspect of her game have been tenfold, basically. So her ability, the fact she bounced back didn't surprise me, is all I'm saying. But yeah, the fact she dropped a set wouldn't be too much of a worry for me. I don't think it says anything about Swiatek's form. I still think she's playing great tennis, and in short, I think she's playing well enough to beat Jess Pegula. Would be my guess in straight sets, to be honest. How do you guys feel about the matchup? Do you think Swiatek wins easy? Do you think Swiatek wins at all?
I think I would pick Iga in two as well. I just like the matchup a lot for her. I remember I remember their French Open match. I know it was on clay, but also and I just think Swiatek is just gonna overpower Pegula at this point. Especially she'll have a lot of looks at breaking Pegula's serve, particularly she can really rush Pegula's second serve. I don't think that's super strong yet in her game. And also I don't think the flat hitting is really gonna bother Iga. I think she'll have she's kind of used to a ball like that. I would say against Niemeyer, it was a little bit different. Like she hadn't played her before, and she was a little bit kind of thrown off. Couldn't really control her forehand for like a set and a half, and then just kind of dug in. And once that forehand clicks and the backhand down the line starts working, and she can work the patterns and go cross line and just the serve she starts holding and consolidating breaks. It becomes really hard to stop her. So I feel like I have to give her the edge because Pegula is usually pretty reliable to get to this point, but I just feel like Swiatek right now getting through this match will give her a lot of confidence coming back from a set down. She's won 4 of her last 6 matches when she's dropped the first set in a major, and that wasn't the case before this year. So clearly that's something. She's a lot more calmer in situations like that now when she gets down a set. I don't think she'll get too phased per se by it. So I think Swiatek in straight sets is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't totally count Pegula out of the chances of her getting a set. The match that she played in Miami against her, I'm sure it was like 6-2, 7-5 to Pegula, but
Yeah,
actually,
that's right. The second set
yeah,
got a lot closer.
yeah, she made it really tight, and it was because of her ability to go into Swiatek's forehand with something. Like she can do something. She
Yeah, you're
can
right.
maybe trouble her a little bit, certainly off her own forehand. So I wouldn't totally just I wouldn't say it's definitely going to be easy.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you got to just match up wise, say that Swiatek statistically should get through
yeah.
in the end at least. But yeah,
I think that'll
still,
decide the match, though. Her forehand. I feel like just the
yeah,
heaviness of that and the combination of pace and spin. I feel like it'll just. I feel like that'll decide kind of how the match goes, whether it's 3 sets or
yeah,
2 sets. I would be surprised if Pegula won it in straights. That would surprise me the most. I would say of
yeah.
all the possibilities.
Of course, yeah, yeah. Isabel, do you rate Pegula?
I'm giving it to Iga. I pretty much agree with Vansh. So
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, enough said there. Okay, I mean, obviously, I'm going to do a rundown of who our semi-finalists are. Collins might not even be a potential pick, but I'll do it anyway. We are thinking, I'm pretty sure we all picked Iga for the first one, right?
Yeah.
Versus Daniel Collins by me getting voted out there. Pretty sure Pliskova's not a very confident pick anyway for me, to be honest. But yeah, Swiatek v Collins. And then on the other side, we had. Did we pick Jabeur or did we pick. I can't remember now. Tomjlanovic.
I think we were we were split.
I went for Jabeur.
Tomjlanovic.
I went for Jabeur as well. Yeah.
Okay, right. Sorry, Isabel, you got voted out. So we're going for
Okay.
we're going for Jabeur, and then did we say Gauff?
I went with Garcia, so I'm minority.
Yeah,
there.
I went with
Oh, but I
Gauff
did say the
because-
caveat that if it went to 3, I'd
Yeah,
pick
you
Gauff.
did.
But yeah,
Yeah, so you're like Garcia, kind of half
Easy-
Garcia, I guess.
Easy out. Picking
kind of a
wins.
cop out. Yeah, kind of a cop out
Yeah.
by me for sure.
Okay, yeah. So the other one we kind of got Jabeur v Gauff. There you go. Yeah, cool. Okay. We'll wrap up there, if that's okay. Thanks very much, guys. It was great. Thank you for covering the US Open with me. Isabel, you can get to bed. Don't worry if I noticed you're yawning a lot. We can wrap up there. Yeah, thank you very much. Please follow these guys on Twitter. You can follow Vansh at V2K, at Vansh V2K, sorry. Isabel at Tennis Slut. Is it the Tennis Slut?
It's the tennis slut. There's
The
only one.
Tennis Slut. You can follow me at @ontheline_Jack. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. This has been the Online Tennis Podcast. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.